Welcome back to the channel, and what I got for you today is something super simple. We're just going to be drawing this in AutoCAD, and I'm going to kind of give you a good breakdown in the intro, after the intro here, and show you how I would approach this in order to, I guess, maximize your time. There's, millions of ways of doing things, but this approach to you will kind of speed things up, right? And I can show you a couple of different ways, but I'll worry about that once I get to AutoCAD. So let's go ahead and hit the intro. Now, before we get started, the way I like to do this is that if I see a whole bunch of circles and they're all in line with each other, and you can see they're at different spaces between each of them, I don't try to go and say, okay, I'm going to create this first one here, and then I'll kind of go up 12 off of this one, and then 32, and then 12. You can absolutely do that. But if you take a little time in the beginning and, do yourself a favor and just start adding these. So if I create my circle at this location, and that's what I'm going to do in the drawing here, I will copy this circle going up a distance of 7. And then I'm just going to type in the next number here, which is going to be the 7 plus the 12, which should give me what, 19. And then we would do the little bit more adding here. And the next one should be, what, 51. And hopefully my math is correct here today. And, once again, I'm kind of drawing with my mouse, so excuse my numbers if they look a little crazy. And then if I add this 51 plus this other 12 here at the top, it should give me a number of, 63? Okay, so just by me knowing all of these numbers, that just speeds things up. So once I create, this basic shape here, and then I create this circle at this point, all I have to do is copy that, and it's going to knock out all of those. Now, the reason I can copy these like this is you can see that in 4 places, all of them have the exact same diameter. This would also work if they had different diameters. All you have to do is come back and change each one of those diameters by using the properties. So that's another way that you can do them. So it's kind of irregardless of what the size of them is, but it's nice and it helps out a lot if they're all the same size, right? So we're going to approach this one by doing it this way, and you're going to see that me actually drafting this is going to take us literally no time. Now, trying to figure out what's happening here with the arcs here that is located at a radius of 70, remember that this is one of those occasions where we have to use the arc command, right? There's no ways around it. I can't create a 2-point circle. I can't do any of that stuff. So I have to create an arc. Now, remember with the arc, it always think counterclockwise. And what I mean by that is that anytime you're creating them, AutoCAD creates things in a counterclockwise rotation, right? So this means positive. So if you're ever thinking about anything that does with rotation, counterclockwise is positive. So when I'm creating these arcs, therefore this bottom part is here, right? This is where I would start this arc because I want to go in a counterclockwise rotation. So I'm going to go up this direction. So my starting point will be here, and then my ending point would be here, right? So if you're thinking about it that way, always be creating in counterclockwise. Likewise, going this way. If I'm going counterclockwise to create this arc, I want to go this direction, right? So therefore, my starting point has to be here. And then finally, my ending point has to be here, right? So me just going through the breakdown of this is probably going to take us a lot longer than what it would take us to actually create the part. So now let's go ahead and jump over to AutoCAD and go ahead and put this into practice. Okay. All right. So here in AutoCAD, I'm going to go ahead and do our normal stuff that we usually do here. Is I will go ahead and turn off this grid. Then I'm just going to go ahead and turn on my ortho. This little icon here, if you've seen any of my other videos, this is the dynamic input. In this case, we're not going to be using it. So if you're looking at mine and going like, hey, where did he get that icon from? That's what this is showing. Also, let's go ahead and take a look at the running O snaps that I have set up. Like I say, these are typically the ones I have turned on. Okay. Let's go ahead and start by creating a rectangle, right? So I'm just going to use a rectangle. I'm going to click here. And then I'm going to put in the coordinates of my other location here, which is going to be 20, 70, right? Let's go ahead and zoom the extents here. And now you can see that I have created a rectangle that's 20 by 70, right? I'll go ahead and knock out these arcs here, since those are going to be nice and easy, and I explained to you how to do them there in the intro. What I'm going to be looking for is a start in radius, right? So let's go start in radius. Remember what I said in the intro? I want to start here. I'm going to end here. And now you always want to kind of move your cursor out a little bit just to give yourself kind of, sometimes it'll give a preview. If I take the ortho off, and you can see now that it's showing it. Once I get that, I'll go ahead and type in the radius, which is going to be 70. All right. So now at this point, we can choose to either mirror this or we can create that arc again. Since we don't have too many examples where we do have arcs, I'll do it again. So I'll go arc, start in radius. I'm going to click here's my start. I want to end here. Once again, I kind of give myself a little preview here. I'll type in 70, hit enter, and now I have it, right? So these lines now I have to get rid of, right? So I'm going to select this shape here, and then I'm going to use the explode command. Once we explode it, let's go ahead and get rid of these lines here. So I'm just going to select them and delete them. Now I'm going to start by creating that circle that I was telling you about. So I'm going to go with a circle, center diameter. I'm going to go to this midpoint and click here. I always give myself a preview there, and then type in 8. Okay. So now, this is the trick that I was kind of explaining there in the beginning. I can try to, keep going and copy this one and make this one at 7, and then I'll come back and copy this one at 12. And I will show you that here in a second, just to show you that can be kind of, I guess, a long way of doing it. But let me go ahead and copy this, and I'm just going to move it to the side for now. And then I'll show you what I mean by that one, but this one shouldn't take us that long. So I'm going to select this circle here. I'll use the copy command. I'm going to select here, and remember those numbers I gave you. So long as I'm facing up, take your hand off the mouse now, and all we're doing is typing in numbers. So I'm just going to type in 7, enter, 19, enter, 51, enter, and then 63, enter. All right, let's go ahead and hit the escape button twice. We can go ahead and delete this bottom line here, or circle here. Now I'll draw a line from this center to this one. Let's go ahead and use the offset command. Type in 2. And we're just going to offset this one to each side, right? Let's go ahead and escape out of this command. We'll go ahead and delete this, and then we'll just finish this off with a trim, right? So let's go ahead and trim here, and then in between here as well. Okay. So you can see that was relatively easy to do, and really quick. Now I'm going to show you the other method if you didn't know how to do this, and this is the only way you knew how to do it. Let's go ahead and move this over to here. And now what I would do is I would first move this shape here. Click here. I'm just going to go up in the direction of 7. Okay. Then I will go to the copy command, select here, hit enter. Pick a base point. I'm always just going to pick out here since it's going at a distance. I'm going to copy this up a distance of 12. Hit enter. Then I would escape from this. Go back to the copy command. Select this circle here. Enter. Pick a base point out here. Go up a distance of 32. Enter. And then finally, if I wanted to, I can also just mirror this one. Or I can do that same process again. I can copy this. Select here. Hit enter. Pick a base point and go up 32. Oh, I'm sorry. It should have been 12. Okay. Let me go ahead and delete that. Okay. So this is another method that you can do. And also, if you want to look at this a little bit more, you can also see that these shapes are symmetrical, right? Now, if I refer you back to the drawing, we can also look at lines of symmetry. And that's another way which you can approach this. So give me 1 second. Let's flip back to the drawing. Okay, so if you remember how we calculated this number here, we said that the distance from, basically here, and we just calculated all this up, and we was left with the number here of 63. Right, now, if we want to do a little bit further math, then this distance here should be whatever this number is minus our 63. And we come up with that number has to be 7. So now if we look at this, we see that, hey, this is 7, this is 7, this is 12, that's 12, and then this is 32. So we're able to say that this number or this shape is in half, right? half of this is the exact same as the other half. So if I create this circle and then this circle, I can mirror this right across the midpoints here, and I can get the other two circles, right? So it's another thing. If you kind of look at the problem and you can kind of go through a lot of different ways, and remember I said that there's many different ways of creating this kind of stuff. So a lot of people may have not have saw that. They may have did it one of the other two options that I gave you before, but here I'm just going to mirror this one, and then we'll go ahead and do some drafting, and I'll just show you how to do the dimensions of this. All right, let's switch back to AutoCAD now. Okay, so what I was trying to tell you was lastly is that if I got rid of those two, I can get away with also mirroring these two circles from that quadrant or midpoint going right across to here. All right, exact same thing we did on the other one. It'll just be simply drawing a line from here to here, offset a distance of 2, 1 to each side. Let's go ahead and get rid of that middle one there, and then we're going to go ahead and trim. Now I'm just using the shortcut since I already created this shape for you in the other example there. Okay, so all of these are exactly the same, super easy to draw, just a matter of how you want to think about it. Now the drafting portion should be super simple for us, right? We're going to create a title block so we can get whatever the scale factor is. Let's go ahead and get rid of this one here. I'm just going to double click my middle mouse button, or you can hit the zoom extents, and that'll bring this one back. Let's go ahead and create we don't use an A size, and in this case I'm going to use it as a portrait. So I'm going to make this thing 8.5 by 11. So let's go ahead and create a rectangle. REC is the shortcut for it. 0, 0 is where I want my lower left at, and my upper right I'm going to make at 8.5, 11. All right. So here we have our title block. Let's go ahead and offset a distance of 0.25. And I'm just going to offset this to the inside. From here, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this outside one. And this is something I've been doing lately. We really don't need to see the border of the paper, as long as I have this located at 0, 0. I'm going to go ahead and hit the create button here. It's going to ask me to select the objects. Pick points, actually I selected the wrong thing. I want it at 0, 0. Let's go ahead and go to select objects. There we go. Go ahead and hit that. I'm going to leave it scale uniformly. I'll go ahead and hit the OK button. Oh, forgot to give it a name. Just going to call it TB. Hit OK. All right, so now this is a title block. The only reason I did this is it makes the scaling a lot simpler, right? So I'm going to select here. I'll do a right click and go to properties. Once my property dialog box appears, let's see what an 8 looks like. And it looks like 8 does fit everything that I'm going to need to put inside of here. Let me go ahead and move this one up. Yeah, I think that'll be enough to get everything we need in here, right? So therefore, I have determined that now my scale factor is going to be set to 8. I'll go ahead and use the annotation scale in this case. So click the fly up here. I'll go to 1 equals 8. I'll hit D, enter. I'm just going to set up my dimension style before I do my center lines and all of that stuff. I'll go ahead and double click on annotation. Let's go ahead and modify that one. And give it in a second. I always start at my primary units. Let's go ahead and turn off these trailing zeros. That way we're getting nice whole numbers. Underneath the fit, we're going to leave this one alone. This one is going to be controlled by the annotation scale. We'll go ahead and take a look at the text height. Let's go ahead and let's leave it this big for this one. We might see that we can adjust this if we have to. Underneath the symbols and arrows, I haven't put them on there yet, but I am going to put center marks on here, so I'll go ahead and create that. And then let's go ahead and take a look at the lines. I've been kind of shrinking this one lately to 0.125. All right, hit OK. Close. I'm just going to verify that this is annotative though. Go ahead and hit the close button. And let's go ahead and put our center marks on here. I'm going to go with the center EXE command first. Then I'm going to adjust whatever the extension I need off of that. Let's go ahead and make it 5. And then we'll go ahead and put the center marks on. So let's go with center marks. And then we're just going to kind of rapid fire all these center marks. For the ones that are this gap in between here, I'll go to center line. I'll select this line here and then this one. Okay. All right. Now we're ready to put the dimensions on. Now, I would normally make layers and things of that nature, but I'm just kind of giving you a quick overview on this one. And it should be super simple and super easy enough to do or see. All right, let's go ahead and put some linear dimensions on here. So I'm going to go here first. I'll put a dimension from this endpoint to here. Come down this way. Now, I hope you notice why I selected it that way. I selected this one first to this one. And remember that it flips to the last side that you select. So that was the last endpoint that I selected. So therefore, my text is going to be on that side. Let's go ahead and use the continue option. So I'll go to continue. And right now it's going off of the last point I did. I'm just going to hit the select button and I'll select that side. And then I'll just click here, here, and here, right? Now you can see that my 32 kind of is running into this. So here I have to use the stretch command. So let's go and use stretch. I'm going to do one single click here. Come all the way down to here. Make sure I get all of those. One single click here. I'm going to type in R, enter. That just stands for remove. And I want to remove this arc here. After I'm done with that, go ahead and hit enter. Pick a base point. Click somewhere here. And just drag away to here. All right. Let's go ahead and finish this up with some more linear dimensions. A linear dimension from here to here. Let's do the ones here at the bottom. So I have a linear dimension going from that endpoint to this one. And once again, I want to verify and make sure that if this 10 is going to kick out, it's going to kick out to the outside. So I'm going to select linear, this endpoint to this endpoint. Okay, it's good enough for us that it stayed on the inside. Okay. Let's go ahead and do our diameter dimension here. So we have a diameter dimension, which is located here. We're going to have a radius dimension, which is going to be located here. And we also got to put a dimension on the inside of here. So I'm going to add one more dimension, or two more actually. It's going to go from that endpoint to this one. Go ahead and place that one. And then come back with one more linear dimension. I need it to be, let's see, that endpoint should be fine to here. Now I want to make sure that I'm trying to avoid covering up that center line there, or that gap in between there. I'm going to select this one. I'm going to go ahead and select that center grip, kind of kick it out to this side, and then we'll move it up a hair. Let's go ahead and move it up there. Okay. Last step we need to do is go ahead and double click on here and then tell it that this radius applies in two different places, right? So we're going to go to X. I'll give it a little space. Go ahead and close that. And we're going to do the exact same thing here for this 8. We're going to select that. I'm going to go to the front of it by clicking the left arrow. And then I'm just going to tell it that this is 4 times. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and zoom the extents of this, and I think we have everything that we need to do. Now, I want to show you something that may disturb you, that if you go to print this, and you know, this is kind of one of those extended things. I typically don't show you how to print things, but in this case I will. And what I'm telling you about is that you can see that I have a little dot out here. This is the actual center to this radius here. So when I'm going to print, and I'm just going to do a Control P, and everything you're going to see is going to be kind of the normal setups here. I'm just going to use a DWG to PDF. And then underneath here, we're going to use a ANSI full bleed A size. Make sure you pick it in the portrait layout, right? So I'm going to pick it at the 8.5 by 11. And then that's going to ask me here. Now, if I go to the extents, it's going to calculate and figure out also with this extent. Now, it's not showing correctly here because I have it in the landscape, but I'll go ahead and click it on portrait. And so it's actually pulling in this little number, and therefore it's not kind of centering right. Let me go ahead and finish the rest of this, and then I'll show you how we can fix this, or make sure that it's fixed. So I'm going to tell it that I want it centered. I'm going to take off the fit to paper. And I'm going to tell it to use the 1x8, right? Okay, so everything right now is okay. Let me go ahead and take a look at the preview of it. And you're going to wind up seeing that it is sitting off, mainly because it is calculating that little point out here. Let's go ahead and hit the escape button to bring me back to the print command. And what I'm going to do to fix this is that instead of using the extents, I'm going to select here and go to Window. I'm going to zoom out, and then I'll click that endpoint here, going down to this endpoint. Okay? Now once I do that, you're going to see that it appears a lot better here. And when I hit the preview button, it's going to go ahead and give me that preview that I've been looking for. So that is going to be your correct way, and you got to make sure that it will look for those centers that are out there as well. All right, I'm just going to escape out of that. And if you did want to print this one at this point, you would go ahead and hit the print button. What I'm just going to do is just go ahead and tell it to apply it to the layout. And then I'll cancel it. What the apply to layout means is that if I go back and try to print this, it has that applied to this layout already, so I don't have to go through all of those steps. So when I hit the Control P again, it automatically has all of the last stuff that I did. All right. Another thing that you can do here is that if you wanted to make this monochrome or something of that nature, and typically when we print things, we typically print the black and white. So you can either use the grayscale or the monochrome. But that should be everything that you need to know, especially when it comes with printing this. Just make sure that if anytime you see these dots out here, and I go to zoom the extents, this is part of the extents. AutoCAD sees this as a physical point or an object that is associated with this drawing. Okay, so I know this took a little longer than what we anticipated, but I wanted to make sure I showed you a lot of good things in this video. All right, so if you hung with me this long, thank you for hanging in. Hopefully you picked up another one of those little hints and nuggets, things that I given to you. All right, so thank you for tuning in, and as always, wait till I come up with something next, and have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching.